What's up everybody, Brian here, down in the Gecko lab today, bringing you a video all about hatchling mourning geckos. So as a lot of you have seen, I've had a couple videos recently about my mourning gecko breeder colony. Kind of an interesting saga with it, as you are aware. I got it, grew these guys up, moved them into some new cages. They got out of a new cage. I got most of them all back. It's been a wild ride. Thank you if you've been following along, but they are now set up and happy in their Thrive hexagon terrarium. They're doing great. They're eating like absolute pigs. They go through fruit flies like mad. They eat gecko diet like crazy. And they've started to lay eggs. I've got a bunch of eggs now, and we got our first hatchlings. Now guys, I have to tell you, hatchling mourning geckos are among my favorite reptiles because they are so tiny. Check out how freaking adorable these are. They're absolutely tiny, so little and so cute. I love these geckos. They're awesome as adults. They're cool to keep in a group. They're great display animals. They're so cute when they're little, but being so small, it does make keeping them a challenge. It is surprisingly hard to hatch and raise mourning geckos. Not because they're difficult to care for, they're actually really simple, but not losing them is an enormous challenge. I did a video a while back on different options for cages to keep hatchling crested geckos in, and I got a lot of those cages here now. I gotta tell you, none of them work for hatchling mourning geckos. This guy, the critter keeper, this one, holes in the top, they'll go right through those. You will lose them instantly. Can't use that. This one here, the Exoterra 9x9 by 12-inch cage. This little piece on the back here that slides to close up your hole where you put like cords or fogger tubes in, even when it's closed, there's enough of a gap right here that they can get out of that. You cannot keep mourning geckos. You can't even keep adult mourning geckos in one of these. They can get out. Baby mourning geckos, not a chance. This cage here, the Zilla micro habitat, I really liked this cage. I had it, I used it for some stuff. I'm not too hot on it anymore because you know what? Geckos can get out of here. All kinds of geckos. Baby mourning geckos, no problem at all. Little slots on the side there, they'd fly right through those. Any little gaps in the top, they would be gone. Can't keep baby mourning geckos in there. So what do? It's really, really difficult to keep these guys reliably without losing them. The best thing to do is get yourself one of these. This is a Sterilite, what is this, a 30-quart? Sterilite 30-quart tub with latching handles. That's important. Keeping these guys in a plastic tub is best because that's the easiest way to ensure that they don't escape. But keeping one with a lid that just clips on, the corners can be kind of loose. Now, if you have something stacked on top to make sure it's flush all the way around, that can work, but something gets knocked off, the cage tips over, you don't put the book or whatever on the top right, they're gonna get out. It's really surprisingly difficult. So I highly recommend getting a plastic Sterilite tub and finding them with handles that latch down. If you can find one that has a rubber O-ring around it to seal it, usually those are used for food storage, those are the best because those you know you're not gonna get out of. Now, you might say, what about airflow? Well, a 30-quart tub like this, I just put a few holes, about 6 holes in the top. I use a really, really, really small drill bit and put about 6 to 8 holes in the top. You just want to be able to let the humidity out so things don't get moldy. That's all you're looking for. Air exchange is not, you don't need a lot of airflow in there. They like it humid, they like it hot and humid, and they're this big, so they're not gonna, you could keep them in a sealed tub for like a month and they wouldn't run out of oxygen. They don't breathe enough. They're tiny, but you got to make sure it doesn't get moldy. So just a few tiny holes in the top of this guy and you're good to go. This is the type of cage that I've got my baby mourning geckos in now. I'm going to show you a basic setup for it real quick. It's super easy. I just use some of this, you know, you guys know this. It's my all-purpose lay box slash cage bedding material. I use this for substrate in all my cages that are not bioactive, anything that's not trying to grow plants. I throw a couple handfuls of this in the bottom. It holds the humidity really well, and that's super important for baby mourning geckos. That's one thing you have to keep in mind. They're so small that they can have a lot of trouble shedding, especially if they get dry. Some of you will know this from raising crested geckos. Baby crested geckos have such a harder time shedding than adults. I hardly ever have shedding issues with my adults. The babies, all the time. They are much more susceptible to shedding issues. Baby mourning geckos, they're like the size of a baby crested gecko leg. I mean, imagine how hard it is for them to shed if they don't have proper humidity. So that's one reason that these plastic tubs with just a few holes works good. And a proper substrate layer is key. Now, I like to keep these super simple. I will just throw in a couple of these mossy vines. Again, you guys have seen these in a bunch of my videos. You know that I love them. I will just bury the ends in each side of the tank here. Throw that guy up, and then I've got one more piece here that I'm going to use. Just unroll this. You don't even have to do anything fancy with these. I just kind of bend it into place. If it falls over, it's no big deal. If it doesn't stand up, it's no big deal. It doesn't really matter because these guys are so tiny and so light that as long as it's just sitting there and it gives them room to climb, that's all you need. And realistically, this is all I put in their cage. This, a tiny, tiny food dish. You just want to use the tiniest amount of food in there so these guys don't get stuck in it. That's it. Bury that food dish in the dirt so it's kind of level with the ground. They can get in and get a little bit to eat. You've got an easy, simple setup, a couple vines for them to climb on. Simple setups are key with these guys because when you're trying to get them back out, they're like this big and you'll never find them if it's chock full of leaves and stuff. This is all I like to do. And of course, there will also be a hide in here. That's because when I breed mourning geckos, what I'll do is take a fish tank decoration, like a castle, fish tank castle, put it in the adult cage. They lay the eggs on the inside of the castle, and then I put that castle in the baby cage, let those eggs hatch out because the adults will eat the babies. Don't forget that. So you have to hatch the babies in a separate container. So I put that fish tank decoration in the adult cage. They fill it with eggs. I then put it in this tank here, let the babies hatch out in here, and they can use that as a hide as well. When most of them or all of them have hatched out of that castle, I will take it out, put it back in the adult cage. The adults will actually eat the empty eggshells. They eat it to reabsorb the calcium, and then they'll refill it with eggs. And you just go back and forth, and that's how you can run a sustainable breeding colony of mourning geckos should you want to. So to recap, real simple setups. Not a lot of decorations because you can never get them out. You'll never find them. They don't need a lot of decorations. These guys don't rely on hides like other geckos do. They will also bury themselves in the substrate if they feel like hiding or if they need extra humidity. But mourning geckos will bury themselves. And the main key is a tight, sealed, escape-proof tub, which is really hard to find. I really urge you to go to like Home Depot or something, play with their tubs, look at which ones have solid lids and which ones don't have like any holes where the handle part clips into the tub. Make sure there's not any openings there. You really have to check every single square inch of whatever tub you're going to put them in to make sure your geckos don't get away. Super easy to lose these guys. Care wise, they're exactly like the adults. They like it in the high 70s to high 80s, anywhere in that range. Oh, I almost forgot something. A heat pad. So because you're using a plastic tub, you cannot put a heat source over the top of it. Obviously, I like these heat pads. This one is a little too big for this tub. I would use one about half this size for this tub. You can get these at any pet store. You can get them online. Just put this on there, run a little thermostat in here so you know they're not getting too hot. Set it for about 80, 85 degrees is perfect for these guys. Spray them down once a day or so, feed them every 2 days. Once they get a little bit bigger than hatchling size, you can start throwing some fruit flies in there for them. And the care is just like the adults. They're very similar, nothing special. Like I said, the biggest thing, make sure you have a sealed tight tub because that is key. Okay, that's gonna do it for me. If you have any other questions, please leave them in the comments down below. I will get back to as many people as I can. I am super excited to have a breeding mourning gecko colony now, so come this coming spring 2021, I will start offering some of these guys for sale, so look forward to that. I look forward to hatching a whole bunch. I've probably got, I don't know, maybe 20 eggs now or so. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I love these guys. They're one of my favorite reptiles. They're so social, chirp and bark, and oh, they're a good time. So Keep an eye out on the Altitude Exotics website if you want to pick some of these up. I'll start selling them. I usually sell them in groups of 4 because you don't ever want one mourning gecko. So keep an eye out for that if you're looking to pick any up in the near future. Other than that, that's gonna do it for me, guys. Thank you for tuning in again. I am Brian, Altitude Exotics, altitudeexotics.com/AEGeckos on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you very much. As always, be kind, be safe. I love you guys. I'll see you soon.